Thank you so much for speaking with us today. And I want to just tap into the conversation we had earlier about you being the youngest parliamentarian in the country right now, as well as what your experience is as a young black woman parliamentarian, not just your personal experiences, but in parliament, what is your reaction or interaction with the older male, perhaps, parliamentarians?
So there are two things, right? There's the experience that I receive outside my political engagements and the social, which are the social engagements that I have, and then there are the engagements that I have within my political interactions. So firstly, after the elections, once the lists have been announced and all of those things, and we got the results and it was clear that we're going to parliament, I had conversations that were discomforting for me to hear about what people are saying about me. There was one encounter where people genuinely asked, how is it that she's this young? She hasn't even completed her undergraduate degree yet. How is it that she's competent to make it? Who did she sleep with to make it up there? So, yeah. So those are the things I don't even enjoy talking about that because it was really painful, particularly because it came from people whom I considered to be human beings. Actually, only to realize that they're just trashy beings. So that is the first thing. The second thing, still related to my social interactions, is that you'd find most people that would think that, she's this young child who finally has a salary, she's living a life that's good, she has nothing to worry about, all of those other things, she's bougie, and all of those things. And it literally strips away the idea that politicians are not just human beings who drive fancy cars, live bougie lifestyles. Politicians are meant to be people who are on the ground interacting with people all the time,
absolutely.
serving the people. Their lives are the people. Their salaries are there to ensure that they serve people and not just to sponge off taxpayers' monies. So these are the kind of challenges that you face because there's such a huge stereotype that politicians are absolutely nonsensical beings who do nothing, that I fall into that stereotype as well, and I have to defend myself and be like, actually, no, I'm different, which takes time. But then inside the legislature, the encounters that I've faced is that obviously I'm 22, I serve in the same legislature with people who are 60 odd.
They're old enough to be your grandparents.
They are my grandparents, okay? And they're old enough to be my parents' parents. So that's it. So in all engagements that I have, there's just that reminder all the time that one, you are a child.
Absolutely.
You do not know anything. If you're going to address me, you must address me with respect. And respect in their mind being fear, not respect. Because in order for me to respect you, you need to be worthy of my respect.
Absolutely.
The work that you do needs to make me want to respect you and the work, the ground that you walk on. Unfortunately, that is not the case, hence my existence in opposition within the country. And you'd find that it's not only that, but the fact that I am a woman also plays a role. I shared an example earlier on. I'm going to share the same example. We were having budget debates, and the chair of chairs had time to debate as well. And in his conversation, I wanted to ask a question. There was a fellow EFF MPL who also wanted to ask a question. And at the time, instead of just gently saying, I'm not ready to receive a question or no, speaker, I can't, he reduced our political engagements to those of whatever object he views women to be in his mind. Because his response to us asking him if he's ready to get a question was that, oh no, there are two women fighting for my attention, oh but I'm married, I don't know how I am going to now diffuse the situation. Another ANC MPL asked the question, which is meant to be progressive, to feed into the speech. He then progressed after the speaker called him into order, the speaker calling him into order after laughing, of course, with the rest of the other ANC women in the house. And
so you get this from men and women parliamentarians? I get it from
men and women. So the men would have this culture and the women would help support the culture perpetuated by laughing or not even calling people into order, which is quite annoying, to be honest. So he then perpetuated the same thing, and it hurt me a lot because the other woman said, it's Rose, he said he withdrew, and he's like, oh yeah, you're married, so they won't think I'm trying to tell you or anything. So these are the kind of things that you experience. You would think that legislators at least have the common decency to respect women and regard them as people who are worthy enough of respect.
And at the office.
At the office, exactly. You don't need to look at me based on the shape of my body, the size of my skirt, or the size of my bra size, and all of those other things. You know, all of those things. So those are the things that I encounter. Those are the things that upset me. Those are the things that I think are a shame, actually, to South Africans that our representatives have such culture within them.
Do you think that having to deal with those kind of things hinders the effective progress you can make? Because instead of working on policy and change and campaigning and, you know, serving the people, you have to divide your time between your office and your mandate, as well as standing up for yourself and speaking out against injustice in the legislature.
Yeah, sure, it definitely does, because the example I just cited now was during a budget debate. During a budget debate,
the focus should have been that.
Should have been
Absolutely.
the budget, and it's not even just that encounter alone. There are many encounters where you'd have an MEC stand up and their entire speech is about how you are a child, literally. Nothing engaging with the speech, the content you delivered before them, and all of those other things. So you spend so much time fighting petty little things
Instead of doing the work
and having fruitful, meaningful policy and legislative orientated conversations that seek to improve the lives of the people on the ground.
I have two more questions.
Yeah.
The first one is, what role do you play in making sure younger people end up in the legislature or in parliament? The second one has to do with being a woman and having to consistently speak up for women. Do you find that sometimes people want to box you into portfolios that only have to do with women's issues, as opposed to the ones that you currently serve on? So yeah, you can speak to, you know, motivating and encouraging younger, you know, politicians, as well as being boxed in a certain sphere because of the fact that you're a woman.
Sure. I mean, I am where I am right now because of other politicians, to be honest.
Actually, the youngest MP before you,
Yes.
Shumelo, and I used to debate against each other in university.
Yeah.
So it's so inspiring that you're both women and you both have come this far.
Yeah. And I mean, I started my activism at UCT, and other MPs and MPLs got to see me, they encouraged me, they helped to groom me into the person that I am right now. And therefore, I also have a responsibility to ensure that, I do the same. And I try to do that. And I'm still working towards it. I have a vision, and by the end of it, it's going to be so beautiful.
It's going to be amazing. I hope that you can achieve it.
I hope so too. But I mean, the challenges that I face is that we live in such, I'm trying to find a civil term to use, in such a screwed up world that we're raised to understand that we're supposed to compete with each other.
We're supposed to lift each other up.
The countless encounters that I have with other young people who, instead of wanting to work with me, some of them see me as a threat and want to compete. That stifles their ability to grow, stifles the ability to represent other people, and literally renders the entire relationship useless. So these are the kind of things that we need to start thinking of as well, to say, how do we relate with other women in society? How do we relate with other young people? How do you as an individual relate with human beings in general in society? How do you make sure that your relationships make you the better person at the end of the day, instead of trying to compete with other people, whereas you yourself could be your only competition? You know, so these are the kind of things. But then secondly, your second question was
being boxed into a woman or gender politics and equality space.
I see it all the time, genuinely. It's as though there's a halo.
You are the patron saint of gender equality. So you must.
There's a halo that's embroidered women and youth only. The minute I start having conversations about older people, oh no, but these are not your target groups. Gandhi, a representative of the province is a representative of exactly that, the province, and not just young people. Yes, at the top of my agenda are young people and women. These are the things that I'm most passionate about. But at the end of the day, societal progress, societal development, and any structural change in society can never happen if the focus is on only one group. You need to be able to consider all citizens and be able to ensure that you cater for all of them and move them all together towards a better place. So that is that. Generally, I get in and I have a conversation about roads, and they're waiting for me to mention young people.
And if you don't, then your buzzwords.
Then my buzzwords, oh, I'm not living up to my mandate. And some members of the public actually, if a meeting goes and there was no conversation, there was a point where they feel like I didn't stress young people enough or women enough, I'm a sellout. Genuinely.
It's amazing. Thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks.
And I wish you all the best in your mandate and going forward, and all the plans you have to uplift younger politicians that are more representative of South Africa.
Thank you so much for having me. I had fun. I'm excited.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.